Okay, hello everybody. You'll notice that one of the requirements for the MGRP is to compose at least one structured poem. And we have provided 3 different types for you, although there are others that you can investigate on your own time. And this video is going to be a short review of the sonnet, the Traveler's Tale, and the Sestina, each of which is really fun to write, but somewhat challenging. So let's take a look. The first structured poem we will look at is called The Traveler's Tale. It has deep roots going back to the 14th century. And essentially in A Traveler's Tale, you are pretending that you're amongst a group of travelers who are traveling by foot or by horse or by some other method, a fair amount of distance, and you're entertaining each other with storytelling. And this particular type of storytelling has a structure to it. You'll see that it's called in 10-syllable rhyming couplets. So let's take a look. Please just notice that if you have punctuation in the middle of the sentence as opposed to at the end, that's where you'll take your natural pauses, a smaller pause for a comma, a longer pause for a period. And if there's no punctuation at the end of the sentence, you shouldn't pause at all. So you should try to just wrap it around as you read. In the old days of King Arthur, today still praised by Britons in a special way. It also helps you as a poet because it gives you much more flexibility with your end rhymes. Don't feel like you have to end your thought at the end of the line. The other key criteria of a traveler's tale is rhyming couplets that are 10 syllables or approximately 10 syllables each, which is the case here. The tale which I now share with you, my friends, I hope reveals that often means and ends do not match up as one might think they do. So you'll see friends and ends rhymes, do and through rhymes, task and mask, and all the way down throughout the rest of the story. So just have to find a good story to tell. Usually there'll be some sort of exposition or orientation, some kind of problem along the way. And then the attempt to resolve the problem or problems. And whether the problems get resolved or not is to be determined, but usually it's the attempt to resolve them and the actual problem itself that are the most interesting part of the story, along with beautiful language. And here we look at the Sestina poem. But whose face was this? Charcoal smeared on paper tracing the face plastered over billboards, spreading his voice to the dim room. The nameless girl embraces her light box, hiding her identity behind the designer's uncertain mask. It was her own work. That too was a lie. The recesses of memory lie stuff here. One thing you're going to notice in this poem is 6 words ending each stanza are arranged in a certain manner. You're always going to see the last line rhyme with the first line of the next stanza. Okay, so there's clue number 1, mask, mask. And you'll see that the same 6 words are used in every single stanza. That's 6 times 6 stanzas. That's 36 lines, plus a 7th stanza of 3 lines. And you'll see the same words: voice, identity, lie, mask, embrace, face. So there's a very interesting structure that's required here. As long as you could satisfy that structure and keep to 10 syllables as best you can. Charcoal smeared on paper, tracing the face, that's 10. Then you have satisfied the requirements of a Sestina poem. These are really fun to write. Interesting, challenging. There's a lot of functions that they could serve. You can use them for storytelling. You can use them for argumentation. So many things you can do. Okay? And this particular poem is interesting because of the reflection and also all the brainstorming notes which were included here. And you can see some of the thinking that went into it. And one last bit of advice: if you can find words for your 6 words that have multiple meanings that you can use in different ways. For example, a noun, a lie can be used as a noun or a verb, as mask. Mask can have a lot of different meanings. So it can face, you could face something, you have a face, there's so many different ways to use it. Those words tend to work really well because you have to repeat those words at least 7 times in the poem. So if you can use them in different ways, that's a good trick. Okay. And then finally, there are programs like this Sestina generator where you just plug in your 6 words and it gives you a template. So it basically organizes the rhymes for you. So that makes things a lot easier. A sonnet is always going to be a 14-line poem that has a particular rhyme scheme, the most common of which is the Shakespearean rhyme scheme. Petrarchan or Italian is also common. See that on the left here. Let's take a look at a sample or two. Okay, so here we have a rhyme scheme of A, B, trains and seams rhymes, do and to rhyme. And then we have C, D, C, D, because life and breath don't rhyme with the previous line. E, F, G, G. So we can see that that is a Shakespearean sonnet or an English sonnet. Another thing that a sonnet will have is 10 syllables per line, or as close to possible. You'll see that this writer in the 5th line said, "We were forced to flow in the current of life." Sometimes you'll see an apostrophe that takes the place of a vowel, and that's a chance to try to crush the 2 syllables together into one. So it's not so much designed to make the poem look fancy, it's just designed to save yourself a syllable. But it does give, I guess, the poem a fancy look as well. You'll see it down here in this line also. So if you're running over your syllable count, see if you can get rid of a vowel by replacing it with an apostrophe, and then listen to it and see if it makes any sense. You'll also notice that a sonnet has a turn. It's called a volta, V-O-L-T-A. And that just means a turn where the momentum of the poem or the meaning changes direction. So maybe it's going to the right and it pivots on a dime and goes back to the left. Or maybe it's going in a positive tone and it shifts toward a more negative tone, or vice versa. Here's another sonnet with some very helpful questions which can guide you. So he's looking a little deeper into this poem and this genre in general. But you'll notice that this has 2 stanzas. It has an octet and a sestet. So there's an 8-line and a 6-line stanza. You can figure out the rhyme scheme, hopefully. You'll notice that it has a turn at line 9, which is often where the turn shows up. It doesn't have to be right there, but that's often where it's placed. You can see just by the word yet, that suggests that the direction or the mood is going to shift in some way. And in this case, the mood shifts from sort of negative to somewhat more uplifting, change in perspective. Okay, so there we have it. That was a little snapshot view of Traveler's Tale, Sonnets, and Sestinas. There's a lot more that can be learned about each of these types, but it's a good start to get you going since we're not meeting in person. And I hope you enjoy the writing. You'll notice that there are other structured types of poems as well. If you'd like to talk to your teacher about that, please do. Good luck.